Good evening, everyone. Namaste. I am Himangini Rajput from Elets Technomedia. I'm the Gujarat Bureau head here. So, welcome to today's webinar. While the world is struggling with this COVID-19 epidemic, Elets is trying a small way through webinars to fight it in order to find the right information for everyone by inviting all the policymakers, thought leaders, senior government officers for the special and exclusive conversation with Elets online so that only right information reach out to you all. How states are dealing with this pandemic? What are their plans to control the spread of the virus? How are they reaching out to the right citizens? How safely the distribution work is happening? How will market reopen post-lockdown? How important is the role of IT in this pandemic? Your all such queries will be answered here. And to answer few of these questions, we have Shri Arun Mahesh Babu today, a very dynamic IS officer of 2001st batch, right now serving as a district development officer of Ahmedabad. The work he does for the district is very commendable and praiseworthy because in no time he managed to launch a mobile van for rural areas for Ahmedabad district just because the villagers do not have to travel to the city for testing. He has also formed Gram Yodha team across all the 454 villages in the 7 Nagar Palikas, involving all the municipalities in each village and similar committee in local body level, which compulsorily maintains a register of those entering the village and report to the district administration twice daily on such people. The committee is also formed across 60 odd villages in Oda area as well. Details we'll get during this conversation. And this session will be moderated by a very prominent personality, Dr. Ravi Gupta, a social entrepreneur, and has been promoting innovations in various sectors for the development of the society for 2 decades through research, advocacy, conferences, publications, and workshops in several countries, including India, UK, USA, Tunisia, Geneva, Dubai, and Bahrain, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Thailand, and many others. He started Elets 17 years ago, the premier technology and media research organization of Asia and the Middle East, has spread its wings in India and across the world over the years. Since 2003, the organization has been championing the cause of governments, building knowledge-sharing platforms and highlighting importance of innovations for governance, health, education, urban development, and banking and finance sectors, among others through conferences, publications, and knowledge portals. Be it eager, digital learning, e-health, or the banking and finance post publications, they have highlighted innovation's role towards the endeavor of building knowledge society. So I welcome Shri Arun Mahesh Babu and Dr. Ravi Gupta today for the webinar. And I would request Dr. Ravi Gupta to take this session ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hemangini. I welcome Arun Mahesh ji.
Dr. Ravi Gupta today.
Dhanyavad.
Innovation's role towards the endeavor of building knowledge society.
Hello.
Yeah. So, Arunji, before we start about the discussion about the COVID-19, I will request you to please give an idea about your education and your career in IS till now, so that the audience has a context of knowing about you. Yeah.
Okay. So I had my education and schooling, in one of the famous hill stations of India, in a place called Munnar in Kerala. So after this, I did my graduation and then I went abroad and then came back to join the Indian Forest Service. So I served also in the Orissa cadre in some of the 3 Naxal-affected districts, namely Koraput, Sambalpur, and Kyunjhar. Later on, which I joined the IS, after serving a couple of years in Orissa. So I was allotted to the Gujarat cadre. Once I was allotted to the Gujarat cadre, I have been working and serving the public of Gujarat. And for a short while, I was in Delhi for about 6 months. Also working in the Department of Northeast under the Home Ministry. After which I ended up in Gujarat, and I served in Junagadh as an assistant collector. Later which I was posted as SDM and assistant collector in a district called Mehsana. After which I was deputy municipal commissioner and additional municipal commissioner in the city of Rajkot. After which, right now, I'm the District Development Officer of Ahmedabad. So presently, I'm serving the public of Ahmedabad in whole, and in certain ways to the public on a larger scope. Regarding this COVID-19 pandemic, so it is a pandemic. So a lot of things which we keep doing, and of late, the Department of Health in the District of Gujarat is under the purview of the administration, and the District Health Officer reports to me. So inherently, the District Panchayat is the nodal authority for the handling of the pandemic in the district of Ahmedabad. The city area has been handled by the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation. Now the central team from Government of India is also here. So I've been with the team for about 3-4 days, and we've been explaining what are the measures being taken, how we strategized, how we are handling the pandemic for the past, say, about a month and more during the lockdown period. How we prepared pre-lockdown, how we are working during the lockdown, and how we are also preparing for the post-lockdown period, and how we've been able to contain the spread of the virus from the city to the rural areas by taking a lot of measures strategically. The whole team, the whole district administration is involved behind it. So that's how we are tackling it. I would be able to speak to you more about this later.
Arunji, if you can explain about the 3 stages you have mentioned, the pre-lockdown, during the lockdown, and possible whenever that exit strategy happens. So if you can explain in detail about it.
Yeah. So we had the US-India friendship welcome Mr. Donald Trump event, which happened in Ahmedabad. So immediately after the event, we were also anticipating this thing happening, because the first case from Wuhan, China, had landed up in Kerala during that time. So the state of Kerala had started tackling, and tracing. The contact tracing was started from the district of Pathanamthitta. So from inputs my batchmates and other friends over here, and being my home there, so I could get inputs from the parents. So which we geared up even before the state administration or the district administration could launch up. I had started, working through the WhatsApp groups which we have, the official circles. What we did start on huge IEC activities, because you need to make the people aware that you're approaching a endemic or a catastrophe. Meanwhile, after which the WHO had declared this as a pandemic, so we jumped in before that. We reached out to all the villages, to all the nagarpalikas, to the outer limits, the peri-urban, the semi-urban, the rural areas, to the nook and corner of the district. So we went for extensive IEC activities. For the villages, it was very specific. We ran auto rickshaws, rickshaw chalans. We went IEC to the panchayats, to the health officers, to the revenue officers, to the primary agricultural cooperative societies. We reached out to the farmer friends, bank mitras, doodh mandis, agriculture produce marketing committees, where most of the rural population engaged in one form or other with the government. So that was the primary focus. We also distributed a lot of pamphlets, booklets, and guidelines, which was exactly based on the WHO social media publications, as well as from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and the Ministry of and the Government Gujarat Health and Family Welfare Department. So we started making use of the social media platform that time itself. The first WhatsApp video, comprehensive video for the state itself, was done from Ahmedabad. Meanwhile, the municipal corporation was also trying to engage with the people in the city. So our advantage was that we jumped in early to start spreading awareness amongst them. Once the passengers who had been coming from abroad, we got the list. We got a direction from the state government also. Our teams were in place. The state team, the central team, as well as the district team. We put up huge numbers at the Ahmedabad International Airport. We started screening, and over a period of about 20-25 days, we screened 374 international flights. We screened about 35,700 passengers for 3 things. What we did was, initially we screened them for thermal scanning for high-grade fever, for which we use the thermal guns and thermal scanners. Later on, we realized that there are issues with that also. A lot of people started landing up in Mumbai, started taking paracetamol and crocin to decrease the temperature, and then they started flowing in through the domestic flights. So that was becoming a big challenge to tackle. So what we did, we went a step further, because it was a learning process. This pandemic has made us learn new things on a day-to-day basis. So we had to do it intelligently. So first 3 days we did thermal scanning, after which what we did was we engaged the foreign returnees registration office of the IB department. So we got a complete database of all the Gujarati abroad people who come in, land in Ahmedabad, or who land in Mumbai, or who land in Chennai or Bangalore, but inadvertently will come to Gujarat. So we traced that. We prepared a list of say 37,000 odd passengers list. We traced them, we tracked them, we went to their homes, we told 14 days complete quarantine, whether you have a history or not. Whether you, that time the guideline from Government of India was specific 7 countries, which later on the list kept on adding up. So that was the final, the first blow to that. In the sense that we reached to their homes, stuck up red stickers saying that you are home quarantined for 14 days, you cannot move out of it. And we created an app called DPA Care, District Panchayat Ahmedabad Care, in which we started sending, IEC material and guidelines and everything to those people quarantined at home, so that there is some kind of self-discipline maintained, and they don't violate this quarantine restrictions. The district police and the Ahmedabad city police was also involved, so that the restrictions are maintained. During which the lockdown was announced, so it was something like a major announcement, and which was one of the, I think, the best decisions that the Government of India has taken under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister. So once lockdown was declared, there was a lot of panic in the crowd. They were rushing to all the malls, the shops in the villages. They were rushing to take up the groceries and store it. So that was a panic situation. The bigger challenge for the district administration was the migrant labor, who got stuck up in every place. People started coming in from Surat, who wanted to go to Rajasthan. There was flooding. People from Ahmedabad wanted to go to Madhya Pradesh. There were people who wanted to go to Orissa, UP, a lot of other states, which from where Gujarat is being served. Gujarat is lucky to have these kind of states helping Gujarat build the the industrial base. So without them, the growth story of Gujarat is incomplete. So I would like to thank all the states who contributed to the Gujarat growth story. These people started traveling. We also helped them travel, because it was a very saddening thing to see. People started walking. People started walking 400 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers. Some started cycling. There are instances where people started cycling from here to Orissa. So these were all very heart-wrenching images and videos which the media also televised. So we needed to stop that. And then when the Ministry of Home Affairs directives had come that we should not continue doing that, we had to create shelter camps. We had to create shelters where we could stop the people. We could keep them there. We could start feeding them, and we could start engaging with them in a better way. So all this, having said that, it was not as easy as it's done, because managing 1 lakh of migrant workers, or the people who are in the state or coming from elsewhere and then getting stuck up in Ahmedabad was a huge challenge. So we had to manage about 40,000 to 50,000 migrant workers in various shelter camps, in schools, in shelter houses, in NGOs, in temple trusts, and we started feeding them. A lot of NGOs were outpouring with support to start feeding them. So that was a major challenge initially for the district administration, after which the COVID thing was not away, because the primary focus was on COVID. One thing I wanted to mention was before lockdown, as I said, the IEC activities also started with massive surveillance activities. So the biggest strength of Ahmedabad district was the surveillance that we did over a period of 12 days, including lockdown. 6 days before lockdown and 6 days after lockdown. 6 days before lockdown, what we did, the district administration ordered about 13,000 staff from the health department, from the ICDS department, from the village, the panchayat department, the agriculture department, the Doodh Mandlis, a lot of people. 13,000 is a huge number. Apart from the 3,000 health staff, which we already had, health and the paramedical staff. We ordered them. We categorized 5 kind of vulnerable population. The approximate population of rural Ahmedabad is 20 lakh, and the city it comes to about 80 lakhs. So those 20 lakh was our target, because that's the most vulnerable population. Surveillance had to be massive, had to be done in a span of 6 days. We categorized 5 vulnerable population in that. The 5 groups were the 60 plus age group, which the data was the election data. We also took the national old age pension data. So that 60 plus age group was a big chunk. We were running a project called Project Lifeline in the district. This project was to have the database of all the hypertension patients in the district of Ahmedabad. we had about 16,000 odd people like that. We took the Nikshay data of the state TB, tuberculosis data, which is also another vulnerable population because your ILA and SARI suspects all fall under TB. So we took the TB data also. The fourth data which we took was the ANC mothers, the mothers, pregnant mothers who were carrying their children in their womb after the third antenatal care. So they are also vulnerable population because they are supposed to deliver a baby in about a couple of months. The fifth data which we took was the 0 to 5 age group children. That was from the Rashtriya Bal Suraksha Kalyan Yojana. So we categorized 5 age groups who had symptoms of hypertension, symptoms of diabetes, symptoms of TB, symptoms of pregnant mothers, and the old age comorbid population. Because the coronavirus, mostly the death fatality rate is highest in comorbid patients. Comorbid is nothing but if you have all these characters of diabetes, hypertension, asthma, breathlessness and all, coronavirus makes you more susceptible. So we needed to isolate them, we needed to test them, we needed to prepare a database. So this survey was done over a period of 6 days, house to house, door to door survey by the massive 16,000 common staff. I should say, and I should put it on record, without the efforts of these staff who were risking their lives, getting exposed to the virus, without this support, we could not have identified and we could not have surveyed. We could have not gone home to get the data. This was the massive survey which was done. Thanks to all the departmental staff and all the frontline work. They were the first corona warriors which the government exposed to the virus. So once we did the survey, we went into the second survey after the lockdown. So we had surveyed 3,79,000 vulnerable population. This is out of the 20 lakh population. This 3,79,000 vulnerable population was asked 5 things. Whether you have a foreign travel history, or is there anybody at your home who has come from abroad who has not disclosed to the government, who has not come through an airport, but has come through a railway station or who has come through a bus station or even by an auto rickshaw by somehow, some means. So somebody is there, so we needed to track him and trace him and quarantine him. The second was we asked for all the COVID symptoms, whether there is high-grade fever, whether you're facing any breathlessness, whether you are having, diabetes, asthma, things. This questionnaire was prepared. So this house-to-house survey gave all this database. For the second round, the lockdown was there, so exposing the entire 13,000 staff was a huge risk. So we had the health workers in place. What we did, we put another 100, data entry operators and our contract staff in a dedicated control center in the district panchayat. 50 of them here and 50 of them in the collector office. This data was given. The verified data was. We asked them to start calling them by phone. We started asking them to contact each and every person, ask for symptoms, ask for foreign travel history, and so that if there's anything, you let us know the database. Our health teams will come and contact. That is how the thing was done. The third round of survey was a Dr. Take-O survey, which the state government was asking us to do, and we did it rightfully. In which all the database was already there in the Dr. Take-O software. We needed to call them, and once the health workers, ASHA workers, and all used to go to their home, they would ask for the symptoms and do the entry on their iPads or not iPad. We've been given a tablet or any mobile phone which has been given to them with a unique user ID and password. So every time they make an entry, the entry gets noted from the geolocation. So we know which home we have surveyed and we have a geo database of it. Now the fourth survey is also on, in which our frontline health workers are also in there. So the biggest strategy which we did was surveyed the right people, identified the right people, and we cornered around. After the 3 rounds of survey, we got 1,925 vulnerable suspects who could attract COVID-19, who could have contracted COVID-19 out of foreign travel history or through local transmission. Now we have entered local transmission. We may be about to enter community transmission. So stage 1, stage 2, we are at stage 2. So the local transmission is just a pause button away from the community transmission. We're at a highly risky time. We also took 6,028 people's database from the state SARI and ILI. It's called the severe acute respiratory infection or the influenza-like illness. So these database we had cornered them, we had surveyed them. We through phone calls also surveyed them. Out of the 6,028 people, we have started testing them also. So, these people could develop any coronavirus symptom from day 1 to day 14 or post day 14 to day 28 because they might catch an infection on day 1 or they could catch an infection on day 14 from any other already positive patient. So that's how we've been doing the survey. Once the survey was done, we went to the next page, which is testing, which I'll be able to explain to you.
So great work done in like data collection. I think the massive amount of data survey, household survey, and say amount of manpower employed. That's a great initiative. Now, please explain about the testing. I think the testing was very less in the beginning, and
Yeah.
it has increased in a bigger way, big time. So,
Yeah.
please explain about how it happened.
Yeah, I'll come to the testing part. See, testing is one thing. If you implement a lockdown and then if you don't test, then it's a big loss. Because, ideally what we should be doing is during a lockdown is identify a person, survey a person. We have surveyed, we've got the data, we have identified who are vulnerable, who is having a contact history, who has had a foreign travel history. If there's no foreign travel history, now local transmission has happened. So we start testing them. So what we did was the IEC was already happening. The surveillance and screening was happening. Apart from which, the extensive disinfection sanitization procedure was also happening, which I just wanted to put it to your knowledge that, a massive sanitization procedure was undertaken by the malaria department through the multipurpose health workers. We've got a very dynamic malaria officer who went on getting this 1% sodium hypochlorite, Dettol disinfectant, Lysol disinfectant, all kinds of things which under the guideline, under the purview, which could be antiviral or antibacterial. So we started supplying knapsack machines to all the villages, to all the nagarpalikas, where the disinfection was parallelly happening because the survey had done, we needed to sanitize. We never knew even one of the government staff could have been exposed, so we did not want to take a risk. We sanitized everywhere. Even still the sanitization is going on. We also happened to get one of those, cannon foggers, which was a local, the typical way of calling jugad. We got it done in a local taluka called this place called Vastara. That cannon fogger is the one which you will find it in the TV, like say Wuhan did it or Shanghai did it or something. So we got it something like that also in locally for the massive disinfection procedure. Later on, under the 14th Finance Commission, we gave the authority to the villages also. We gave the authority to the nagarpalikas also to start spending on them, start getting disinfected done. Now, coming back to testing. Testing is one procedure in which the massive data which we had, unless tested, is of no use. So we took a longer time in surveying, a longer time in collecting data, identifying the right people so that right people are tested and not the wrong people are tested for wrong reasons. Because it's a very sensitive thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a stressful thing for the family. Suppose one message of saying that, one person is being tested for coronavirus in a family, the entire family panics. Because, this coronavirus itself has become a jargon, saying that people hearing to the word have become, it is as similar to being demonic or on a bigger scale. So we did not want to get unnecessary people tested. We did not want to get the wrong people tested. So that is why this massive survey. Now coming back to testing, there are two ways of testing. One is the reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. It's called the standard and the accepted RT-PCR test advised, which is being approved by the Indian Council of Medical Research. So ICMR approves as a standard gold. It's called the gold standard. RT-PCR test is called the gold standard, which universally all over India has been taking place. Unlike the Western countries, they do rapid testing, they do drive-in testing. They also take swab samples. So I'll explain how the testing is done. So the RT-PCR test was recommended by the Government of India. The viral transport mediums were supplied. The cartridges were given. The RT-PCR machines were ready. The TrueNet machines were ready. We had a live surveyed population which was ready to be tested. We deployed two mechanisms. We had already trained, intensive capacity building and training was already happening over, over Skype, over video conferences, over Zoom. Many other forms of intensive capacity building was happening. The entire health staff, 3,000 health staff, was trained to take swab samples from the throat and nasal swabs, without which you cannot do an RT-PCR test. So they were trained intensively. They were also trained how to put the sample in viral transport media, transport it to the testing site. Vis-a-vis the testing, number of testing labs approvals were also increasing day by day. Initially, the testing capacity was less. The reason why you asked was why initially the testing was less, so that we were afraid that the figures would blast up. But later on, there was a review meeting taken up by the cabinet secretary, and there was a comparison between states of how the rate of testing is happening. So there was one state like Kerala which was doing eventually so high rate of testing So everybody were telling what is happening to Kerala. So many number of cases are coming. Why? Then Mumbai municipal corporation started testing. So they told these two are testing so high, and why we are not. So that was a game changer. After which the entire state started testing. Very honest disclosure. So testing had to be done. Now RT-PCR test had some limitations because the number of tests per day, the testing lab capacity per day, the number of sample transport that can be transported, tested, and the results announced. Because the result was taking longer to be announced also, because of the limited number of lab technicians and microbiologists available. So now that approvals have increased, now the testing capacity has increased, the testing procedures also changed. So every day, the patients were initially transported to the district medical colleges or the district hospitals. They were admitted for a day. Their swab samples were taken. It was kept for sent for results. Once the results started coming, if the patient was positive, we got them admitted at the civil hospital. If the patient was negative, then he would be sent back. That was the procedure. There was a slight delay also in getting the results done. Now the procedure is different. What we have done is we have trained 37 lab technicians. We have trained 2 ENTs and around 6 microbiologists. They stay in the taluka. The staff goes to the talukas. They go to the hotspots. They go to the containment zones. They go to the cluster zones. They take the swab samples and transport it to the medical colleges so that the patients need not come to the city. Unnecessarily, the stress could be avoided. So these 37 lab technicians who are deployed, they go to each and every village, they go to each and every town, they go to each and every pocket, they go to the industrial clusters, they start testing them and they send the samples. And additionality which we did was the mobile testing van, which is very unique to Ahmedabad district panchayat, where we got it launched on a convertible basis. We had a van which was almost looks like the pod tracks van, which was originally a Science for You van belonging to the education department. So by the meanwhile, JIPMA Pondicherry as well as state of Kerala as well as the Surat Municipal Corporation had devised this cubicle kind of thing in which a person can not be exposed. The health worker may not be exposed, but he can take a swab sample from the suspect person, and then the suspect person has to just walk in. It would appear like an old telephone booth, those red color telephone booth standing in a corner of a town. So the cubicle inside would have a microbiologist or ENT person. You just have to walk and then take the sample, and it is done. So the sample would be later on, traversed and sent to the district hospital for testing. So we thought that is static. Why don't we make it mobile? So we tried to create a small jugaad in that. So this Science for You van was rusting in my office campus for about a year. A lot of criticism had happened earlier that one of the papers also quoted that this is how Science for You is happening. So we just randomly, while walking through the corridors, we just noticed this van is there. Why don't we use this? So we removed those glasses at the back on both sides, because the van has 2 sides. So we removed 2 glasses so that 2 microbiologists or ANTs could be kept inside with a revolving chair, which would make it easy. So that 2 samples with a convertible gloves and structure, so that those 2 health workers are not affected. At the same time, this van can transport and go to any corner of the district to take a sample. Now we had an advantage. We got this done in about 3 days. A lot of spending could be avoided, because buying a new van, getting it converted would cost around 6-7 lakh. This we got it at a cost of 30,000 rupees max. Converting a small jugaad, removing a cubicle, putting a glass structure, putting a glove. So we have 3 advantages of having this mobile van. One is my health or my paramedic is not exposed to the coronavirus because it is there. Second, this vehicle can go to any corner of the district, take a sample. To an old person who is sitting at his home, this vehicle can go to his home, take a sample and come back. That's an advantage. Third thing, the major advantage is that the rural population, now the number of cases in the city have increased. So there is quite a substantial risk of exposing the rural areas to the city, where the city population would start traveling. I'll come to one of those Yoda committees also, which is formulated later. I will explain about it. But we had this risk because Ahmedabad city has about 30 to 40% of their roots in the rural areas. People have migrated from the rural areas, come to the city. They are staying there. The surprising aspect is now the rural villages are telling why you're coming to the village now. You have never come for the past 3 years. Why are you coming now? Don't come. So that is quite surprising. So During the lockdown, we are learning interesting aspects of life. The reverse migration process. Because now the people in the city feel villages are more safe.
Yeah.
So this testing van has that third advantage which I want to tell you is we do not want to bring the entire rural people to the city, get them tested, make them sit for an entire day or 24 hours, that mental stress in a hospital, emotional baggage that your home and your family is carrying. The third important issue, the third, I would say 3.0 is 3.1 is a lot of hospitals now have patients in house which are being treated. Now you bring another set of people, keep them at the hospital in the name of testing, in the name of isolation. We are exposing the rural public to the already infected people at the hospital. They get infected. So by doing this mobile van thing, we could completely stop the transmission. We could completely stop the city transmission to the rural. So now my suspects don't come. They sit at home. We take their samples. The sample is tested. The result goes on SMS online to them. If it turns positive, we check for 2 more days, whether he's asymptomatic positive or symptomatic positive. If he's asymptomatic positive, we tell him, you please be at home. My doctor will certify you. My physician will decide whether you need to be taken to hospital or not. Otherwise, 14 days home quarantine, we will treat you with Ayush. We will treat you with the line of treatment that is universally accepted. Otherwise, we don't want to expose you, and we don't want you to get exposed to a symptomatic patient in the city and get more affected. If the physician sees that the patient is already asymptomatic, we bring him to the COVID hospital. Or if he is critical, then we take him to a ventilator or an ICU as per the rate of infection or the patient. So by doing this mobile van, we are able to save 70% of the asymptomatic population from getting infected to the 30% symptomatic and severely affected population who are in-house in the city. Sorry to say, but the newer hospitals and the bigger hospitals are becoming newer centers of infection, where the mixing of symptomatic and asymptomatic is happening. Say there are 20 symptomatic patients and 100 asymptomatic patients. This 20 can infect and make them symptomatic, which is more riskier. So we can reduce the fatality rate, we can decrease the mortality rate by doing this. So this mobile van came as a surprise for many, but now the state government is also thinking on the lines of replicating it all over the state. Every district has one van, so just convert it, make it go to the rural, at least save the rural areas. That's how the thing is. In addition, we formed something called the Yoda committees. This Gram Yoda committees was one thing that has taken everybody by surprise, but it is helping in an amazing way. For that matter, we treated the city, the Ahmedabad city, as a macro containment zone, which is already in the red zone. And all the 464 villages, plus the 60 villages in the outer limit, plus the 7 towns, the Nagar Palikas, as micro containment zones. Each 500 micro containment zones, which will not be connected to the city. We were trying to break the transmission from the city to the villages. And if there was an infection in the village, also we were not allowing one village person to go to another village to get it infected. So we secured every village, we secured every town, we kept them away from the city infection. For me, because my priority is the rural and the entire district. So I did not want the inspection to carry on. For which we formed a committee called the Gram Yoda Committee. Gram Yoda is a warrior, so it gives you a lot of fire in your belly, saying that I am a warrior. So we made the Sarpanch the head of the committee, so that he felt himself empowered. We gave him almost magistracy powers, that you are the head of the village, so it is your village to be taken care. We empowered him by an official order. I designated the power to the entire committee. This committee would consist of the village Sarpanch. The committee would also have the village officer, who is also called the Talati in the local language. The school headmaster, because headmaster को village में बहुत respect मिलता है. People listen to him because he's educated. People think that Master Ji बोलेंगे तो हम सुनेंगे. So that Master Ji was there. Fourth was the health worker, because he or she had to keep the health point of view as a technical thing. Fifth, we kept a social leader who is a more acceptable person. If the Sarpanch की बात नहीं सुनेंगे तो social leader की बात को सुनते हैं. So vis-a-vis. If the social leader का नहीं सुनेंगे तो Sarpanch का सुनेंगे. That's the way. So we had to put that logic there. We also put a GRD, the Gram Rakshak Dal, or a police constable, who would inadvertently, show the stick or show the danda if somebody's not listening. So we formed this committee. This committee was empowered and allowed to decide whom they should allow inside the village and whom not to allow inside the village. So we gave them village movement registers. Every village was asked to maintain a village movement register, where they would put on record every person coming to the village and every person not who was leaving out of the village, they would maintain a register. We appointed 10 nodal officers, class 1 nodal officers from the district. They were assigned 10 talukas. They were supposed to talk to the taluka development officer, the local police inspector. They were supposed to talk to the mamladar, take a daily input from every village. Say every taluka had 50 villages, for example. So they would take 50 reports from 50 villages, morning at 11 o'clock and evening at 6 o'clock. So the overnight people who have entered the village, chupe, they will also be caught and they would be registered at the 11 o'clock register. And the entire day's transaction would be noted at the 6 o'clock register. This reporting started doing wonders. The formation of the committee, one day, next day, one of the leading newspapers reported 18,000 Ahmedabadis rejected from the villages. That was the impact. 18,000 was a number who went from the city to the village, and 18,000 was rejected from the city. It was a big capture in the papers. So this then was also covered thanks to the electronic media and the print media. This message went haywire, so everybody started fearing now the sarpanch will not allow me. Even there were instances where the sarpanch asked on the face to very most educated people in the city, આટલા દિવસોથી તમે નથી આવ્યા, અત્યારે કેમ આવો છો ગામમાં? Why are you coming now? You never visited the village for the past 10 years. Why are you coming now? So they had no answer. They were simply, they would travel 50 kilometers, simply they were turned away. They do no entry into the village, you can go back. So that was the kind of shield, that is we call the village shield. So unless you empower the society, unless you empower themselves, government cannot go and reach to 1 crore population. The 1 crore population has to be empowered so that they maintain self-discipline, they take care of themselves, rather than every time the typical my-bap culture be there. So we wanted to dilute it. We wanted to empower the elected representatives and democratic. This started doing wonders. The Gram Yodha committee rejected them. Every village went by a notification. They issued notifications for wearing masks, fines for masks. Koi pan thokega to uske upar fine. It was amazing. This clicked somehow, thanks to God and thanks to the nature civic and thanks to all the sarpanches and the Gram Yodha committees. We have instances where now recently when we started opening the industries, the industry people started complaining to us, sir, aapne to industry kholne ke liye permission to de diya, but the sarpanches are not allowing anybody to come out of their village to start their own industry. So from my point of view, health is important rather than getting those even villages to exposed in a cluster. So the Gram Yodha committee did amazing wonders. This Gram Yodha committee was also additionally, the subset was supplemented or complemented by another strategy. I told you earlier, the city was a macro containment zone and the other villages in Nagarpalikas were micro containment zone. So we got 10 exit points from Ahmedabad city to the district, as well as 3 exit points towards Gandhinagar. So that falls under the city police limits. So we got we tied up with the city police and the rural police, where 2 checkpoints were manned by the city police and the remaining 8 checkpoints were manned by the rural police. We put health teams attached with the checkpoint police people. Barricades were erected, and this message went a huge way. What happened? The joint police and health teams, all the people who were migrating from the city saw this barricade there, and it was something like you're entering into red zone or you're entering into curfew zone. When they saw 2-3 simple questions, kya jao cho, without a pass, you're not having essential commodity transport, you're not having any pass to go, there is no medical emergency, where do you want to go? That simple question turned hundreds of vehicles back. Second thing, whoever managed to get out, he was checked for his high-grade fever or something. We used thermal guns. All the checkpoints were given 2 thermal guns. The entire team, 24/7 teams were deployed. Police and health teams were deployed. Where 2 health staff and about 3 police teams under 1 police inspector was deployed. So basically, we were not allowing anybody from the city to go to the village, except for those who had essential services, medical emergencies, and government staff who were on duty. And all the trucks that was carrying essential commodities was completely free to go. Nevertheless, they were also checked for high-grade fever using thermal guns. So any person who had a high-grade fever was isolated, because that is one of the main signature symptoms for COVID-19. So this thermal scanners and thermal guns helped us a big way. First 2 days, we got 128 people checked for high-grade fever. Out of that, around 18 were referred to Sola Hospital, and we got 2 positive cases also after testing. So that's how that strategy works. So securing the village from the city, Gram Yodha committees in the village, so this transmission was cut. Basically this transmission, long-term local transmission was cut. That's how the number of cases in the rural is lesser. So supplemented by higher testing using the mobile vans, the entire survey was done in a long way, in a big way. That was supplemented by strategical testing. So we took more time during the survey. We started testing late, but the rate of testing was very fast, rapid. So we started sending the vehicles, our entire CHC started testing, our PHC started testing, our Taluka headquarters started testing, the Nagarpalika started testing. Entirely the health team was spread out all in the district. So they went like war. On a war footing, they spread out, they started taking samples, and every day the samples would be transported on a logistics van. That team would send it to the Vijay Medical College or the IKD hospital or Solo hospital. Results started coming faster. So still, we are happy that the number of negative samples are higher and the positive samples are pretty low. So thanks to the entire setup, that Ahmedabad model after the central team's visit has also been recommended, that this model could be adopted by all the districts in the state as well as all over India. Gram Yodha committees could be replicated, the mobile testing vans could be replicated, and this model of intensive surveillance that was done could be replicated, so that this could be a procedure for every time any pandemic or any major disease comes. So that has been the strong point.
Amazing story and amazing work in a very short time. And what are the numbers in the rural areas?
Oh. The number of positive cases in rural area is 32 as of today. We also did rapid antibody tests. So rapid antibody tests, we did about 2,000 tests, out of which we got one positive. That one positive person was again tried for an RT-PCR, and we got that same recorded in an RT-PCR. So now we have stopped rapid antibody testing. We are doing only RT-PCR tests. So 32 for the size of Ahmedabad district is quite a small number. So that is, we believe that God has helped us contain it, or God has intervened in a big way through the system, as well as the support of the citizens, as well as responsibility of the civic public. I personally feel during this pandemic, the rural population, the Nagarpalika, the town population have behaved more responsible. They've been more self-disciplined, and the fear of coronavirus, in a very positive way, has taken very, very concrete steps in containing it in the rural areas.
And in the rural areas, like after the lockdown, when the travel has got stopped, so supply of the essential goods and essential fruits, vegetables, grains, all that stuff. So how you manage that?
Essential services was not an issue, because the guideline from Government of India, Ministry of Home Affairs, was very clear. From day one, essential services were supposed to be supported. The vegetable supplies were supposed to be supported. The ration supply, and as well as any essential commodity, right from toothpaste to soap to your liquid soap, your sanitizers, your the special protective equipments that need to be supplied, and especially the pharma industry, which had the medicine supply to be done. The instructions were pretty clear from Government of India and from the Government of Gujarat, so we just maintained it. The challenge was the number of truck drivers got reduced. They got stuck up. Although truck drivers were given a free hand to travel all across the country, but the labor which was needed to load the vegetable supplies from the farms, or the labor which were required to load the food grains from the farms or from the the godowns, was less. That was one major challenge which had to be done with the villagers. So the villagers took over it. Now, when a farmer who's a huge landowner does not have a labor, he has to do it himself. Now you would see all the celebrities doing dishwashing, all the the so-called privileged class doing cleaning up their homes themselves. Coronavirus has made us realize a different ball game altogether. It has created a different definition of life. Be self-reliant, be self-disciplined, not engaged in. I thought personally, it is my personal opinion, I think the pandemic was an antidote or an injection given by nature to all the citizens, that we are going in a very machine fast life. Take a break, think for yourself, spend time with yourself, and get back to the life after a break. So the essential commodities was not an issue, in the sense it was coming from all over the country, not only to Gujarat. Gujarat was also sending to other places. So the labor was an issue, and still we are facing this issue. Since even after the this period of second lockdown, a lot of labor want to go home, because they are locked up at the shelter homes. They have spent 1 month They are bored. Although we feed them, we take them with the Annapram Yojana and all. Everybody wants to go home. So farmers devise their own way. The villages are more rugged. Instead of sending in trucks, they took smaller vehicles. They loaded smaller number of bunch of or quintals of paddy or wheat or vegetables. They started sending it to the mandis, where the auction was happening and the supply system was maintained. We did not face any issue with the essential supplies because we also assured it. One was the challenge was the door-to-door vegetable supply. So, which these Gram Yuddha committees played a huge role. The Gram Yuddha's committees also told that we would not only protect the village, but we will ensure supplies to the village. That was the directive given from my side to the villages that, nevertheless, you prevent people from coming, but the supply should be maintained. So, vegetable and ration was supplied door to door so that people don't come out. There were a lot of volunteers, young youth volunteers who started gearing up and taking responsibility. I'm really, really proud of the youth who have taken up this responsibility, to act sensibly during this pandemic. They did not want the elders to come out. We asked the elders to stay in because you are an asset of the society. The youngsters who are more immune, who are more rugged, they took up the responsibility. The supplies were provided to the villages, to the towns. The supplies were also provided to the cities. The villages were supplying to the cities. The wholesale markets, the retail markets, everything was kept open. I would have seen one interesting model which was adopted from Patan district was a social distancing. They made round rings outside the shops, which became a universal model all over India. So this time, India has made a lot of countries learn different things. The way our people have disciplined themselves, the way the citizens have taken up this challenge to face it, right from Janta curfew, right from the message given that we can also implement lockdown the way many other countries could not do it. Being not one of the biggest democracy, the decisions were strong. The decisions were to be complied. So essential services, I don't think there was an issue. One issue which we had was the interstate transport system, which was also later on ratified. So within a week time that was cleared, and the police system also supported it in a big way. Initially, there was a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications, which was communicated because every day there would be a video conference from the chief secretary or from the director general of police or from the state chief minister, so that the directions were being cleared. So the core committee gave us directions, and we also implemented those things at our places. So that was not an issue. The next issue, apart from essential services, was preparedness for the hospitals. How many hospital beds you create, how do you have the capacity to run it. So we are in the process of doing that, and we are continuously updating that. As of now, in Ahmedabad, we have a capacity of 5,000 beds. We are escalating that to another 10,000 beds. So we are also involved with Indian Medical Association and Ahmedabad Medical Association, constant meetings with them. Essential services, we did phase one. I forgot to tell that. Feeding the stranded labor and the migrant labor was one issue amongst the shelter homes. Initially, the state government had got a grant, had provided us grant through the State Disaster Relief Fund. It's called the SDRF. The SDRF, we took up we started the major challenges of feeding them. Apart from that, a lot of NGOs came forward, a lot of associations, organizations came into the fore to help to feed them. Later on, the state government also declared a Yojana called the Annapram Yojana, where the Annapram Yojana, all the people who did not have a ration card, who were stranded, they were surveyed. Again, the teachers did a wonderful job. The teachers did the survey. They took a risk of their lives. They surveyed, they gave the database. Then the TDO and Mamaldar finalized it, and the state district administration finalized it. And about 142,000 people have been given ration kits. So there was a different kind of PDS system that was running, and it is a time that has made us innovate. So the state government was a very, very strong decision in supplying to the ration kits, because food packet supplying every day was a major challenge. So we thought we'll give them ration kits for about a month, and then the second kit of rations is being now given by the district administration. So I personally feel essential supplies was not an issue. There must be smaller pockets of people who must have not been able to reach, but NGOs have also taken care through or without the government support.
Great. One of the questions someone has asked is that Ahmedabad has one of the highest numbers of cases on. So how is that?
I'll explain that.
Yes.
See, people should not be just taken aback by the number of cases. The number of cases is not important. The number of deaths or fatality rate is important. So, if you see, initially the highest testing rate was from one of the southern states, was Kerala. Later on, the Mumbai Municipal Corporation of Mumbai started testing more. So now, as of today, Ahmedabad city, we have a testing rate of, say, they take 2,000 samples per day. The Ahmedabad city is testing it at the rate of 4,464 tests per million. That test is 10 times larger, more than the national average of 400 odd tests per day. So naturally, we are testing more, so the cases are more. If you don't test, you don't get more cases. So people should not be taken aback by a very conservative figure that, in comparison to some other state or some other country, we are having more number of cases. Naturally, at this kind of testing, initially the complaint was that we are not testing enough and we are not getting so many cases. So people are telling we are trying having a very conservative figure, you're not testing. So now when we are testing more number of cases are coming. So there should not be a panic in this. More number of cases come, the sooner you test them, the more sooner you isolate them, the more sooner you keep them away and treat them at home quarantine or you treat them at the hospital quarantine or at the COVID care center. So the rate of the number of cases is directly proportional to the rate of testing. So we in Ahmedabad, as on today, are one of the cities who has the highest testing rates in India, as more than the state average and more than the testing averages of many other states. So if some state or some cities are having a lesser figure, it is because the rate of testing is less. So that is the answer to that.
So there was an order by MHA on 20th April and another order, I think, on 25th of April regarding the opening of shops and all. So what is that impact of those two orders in your...
Sorry, can you come again?
Yeah. MHA had an order on the 20th April for opening up like some of the factories and other services. And there was another order on perhaps on 25th April for opening of shops. So how has those impacted the villages you are looking?
Yeah. So thanks to the MHA's intervention, where they had asked us to open up the industries a bit in the rural areas. So there were about 16,000 applications that were made in the district to open up the rural industries, and accordingly 15,000 plus approvals were given. But unfortunately, around 3,000 industries, 2,900 odd industries have opened in the district of Ahmedabad, mainly because of two reasons. The number of industries could not open. One is the fear factor. That a large cluster of people coming into a factory would create a panic, where somebody with a COVID-19 case would come and create a panic. Second thing was a sheer shortage of labor. We've been interacting constantly with the shelter camps, with our friends from other states. Every person whom we interacted says, "Sir, मेरे को घर जाना है. हमको घर पहुंचा दो, बाद में देखा जाएगा. We want to go home. We'll go interact with the family, spend time with the family. Our family is under stress, it's under panic. We will go see them, say hi, hello, spend time for a week with them. We'll come back." So every person we need to see as a family is a human being. We need to respect his emotions, his or her emotions. So that was one challenge which still we are facing in opening up industries. Second decision of opening of shops, the economy has to open up at some point of time. So, and there's a lot of expectations from the the business community, from the trading community, that the shops need to be opened. At some point of time, we need to reach the normal where slowly herd immunity would start happening, or slowly herd immunity would have to be brought in to the society, where inherently in between incomers, I personally think the Indian gene, which is already being injected with BCG, which is being injected with malaria, which is already having all kinds of exposure to swine flu, smallpox, chicken pox, you call it anything. So our bodies are, I personally believe, are more immune to in comparison to the Western world. If I can be very down to earth and blunt, there are a lot of population who drink tap water in comparison to the people who drink Bisleri or any other water in the Western world. The number of vaccines which we have taken and the government has been provided us with is not like in the Western world, where they don't take anything of this, because those kind of instances are not there. So already our bodies are immune. So slowly, herd immunity has to be brought inside. So I think it is a right direction that MSA had issued that direction, and we are complying with that. The decision to not open shops is the district administrations as far as the directions of the state government, because opening up shops would entirely immediately would do a disfavor to the entire lockdown thing which we have contained. We have contained the spread. We have tried to break the transmission. If you open up shops immediately, there will be a spread of people just moving around randomly to do the shopping and again hoarding stuff, or maybe for even daily activities, which would create disaster. Ahmedabad, already being in the red zone, it is a hotspot district, it's a red zone district. I personally believe should be opened last after opening the green zone districts and the orange zone districts. So it's a good decision that the shops were closed again, so that the walled city, which is already having a huge number of cases, should not spread out to the rest of the city and should not spread to the rest of the district as well as to the rest of the state. Because one small mistake from there could result in one person infecting another 100 persons, and those 100 persons can infect another lakh people. So that way, the decision was quite good.
Right. So I think I have looked at all the Q&A. If you can open it, I feel that you have addressed most of the questions here.
I see some questions like how you creating awareness in village areas where people are engaged in agriculture and farming activities. That is from Karthik Sharma in Ajmer. Should I answer that?
No, I think you have mentioned, right? Yeah. You want to add something here.
Okay.
You can add.
You want me to add the other points?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll come back to one thing which I wanted to add. The line of treatment is one thing which we want to disclose and which we want to spread out awareness. Probably it could be a learning lesson for the districts or the rest of the country. I personally believe boosting the immunity is one part which we need to do, because a nation of 1.3 billion cannot have mass screening. First of all, a country with such a huge population base, we do not have that many number of hospitals. We do not have that many number of doctors and paramedics. Otherwise, we would end up exposing every other medical profession people to the COVID-19 virus. So one line of treatment could be boosting the immunity through Ayush. I would put it on record here that about 55 lakh Ukala packets. In Gujarati, we call it Ukala. It is the Ayurvedic prescription packets, which we have given to the entire population. We've also given 23 lakh plus arsenic homeopathic tablets. Now we are also prescribing the Ayush line of treatment, which the government of India as well as government of Gujarat has been propagating and asking us to do. Boosting immunity is the one line of treatment. Now, any person getting admitted to a hospital is being given simple treatment. We administer them azithromycin, HCQ, or protein water, or it's basically trying to create more immunity, prolong the 14-day incubation period, and once the 14-day incubation period is over, and once the symptoms die down, we discharge them. We discharge them after testing them again twice. We get 2 negative tests, and after which we discharge them. So that can be done even at your home. So now the new guideline has come from Government of India and ICMR as well as Government of Gujarat that the asymptomatic and mild symptomatic patients with a certificate of the physician and with a certificate of the family that they'll give an undertaking that there's a caretaker can be treated at home. There are certain examples, many examples in Iran, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, where people are kept at home, quarantined, mild and asymptomatic suspects are treated at home. Because I personally feel your mother, your wife, or your sister, or your brother is a person who can give you the best treatment, best care at home, emotionally, stress-free. Because the entire setup of a person being in a hospital itself is so stressful.
Yes.
Second, your family members come and wait outside the hospital is even more stressful. Third thing, you getting treatment in a bed, you are taken care by a nurse or a paramedic or a doctor. You sit in like it's like a dormitory. You feel like you've done some big crime or something. That could be avoided. Fourth thing, using washrooms, using plates, all things multiple. So I personally feel your home is your best hospital. Your home is your best cure. Your home is your best remedy, where you will get personal attention, where even no mother will decline or no wife will decline or no brother, sister will decline to treat you, right? So if you are asymptomatic, mild symptomatic, please take Ayush, please take Ayurvedic line of treatment, please take homeopathic line of treatment. Indian medicine has proved its track record since Rigveda, since Tiruvalluvar times, since it has been demonstrated far and ever. Indian traditional medicine, Indian yoga has gone to the world, but we still have to adapt it, execute it, and implement it wholeheartedly. I'm sure all the governments, all the district administrations, all the local administrations are, going to do that. We have even started distributing it in the Samaras COVID center, where we are keeping the asymptomatic patients. And we are discharging patients in 4th day, 10th day, any number of people. So only the 30% critical care has to be treated in a hospital. The remaining 70% can be treated at home. So we are all going in that line. So I hope that will do justice in the long run also. Because we don't have capacity for such huge number of beds or huge number of hospital machineries.
There is a question around how is sanitization being maintained in the rural areas. You want to address this?
So this is a very interesting thing. See, they say that necessity is a necessary for any innovation. I would go for a very rugged word called Jugaad. So once this knapsack sprayers were given to Taluka headquarters, and our cannon fogger started disinfecting all the towns, and the fire tenders of all the Nagar Palikas and the boozers from the corporation all were used in disinfecting. Every positive patient comes, this boozer would go disinfect the entire place. So preventive disinfection is also required. So preventive disinfection was done by the entire gamut of around 500 plus multi-purpose health workers, who usually keep doing all these things during malaria times or prevention of malaria or dengue. So we got these fogger machines, which we procured in a very short point of time. We do disinfect using 1% sodium hypochlorite, DN75, that's a chemical. We also use Lysol and Dettol in terms of disinfecting internal offices and government places where a lot of people keep coming. Another thing, when the 14th Finance Commission funds were also given to the Gram Panchayats and the Nagar Palikas to use them to buy disinfectants and machines, our villages came up with local jugaads. What they did, you would have seen those tractors pumping water in the farmlands. They would put a bore, this tractor would pump it, and then water would come out. You would have seen it. Now what they started doing, these tractors started simply getting those 1,000-liter water containers, that you find those 1,000-liter containers which you put it on the top of your houses, right? Every house has a 1,000-liter, 10,000-liter capacity thing. They simply put those trucks, simply tried pumping, started the tractor pumper and started spraying. It simply started working amazing. So this video went viral, after which everybody started using the same bottle. Every tractor had one 10,000-liter big container with water. The dosage was prescribed on WhatsApp. The dosage was prescribed officially. The dosage was prescribed off the record. A lot of formal and unofficial communication channels. The disinfectant was supplied from the district. We also gave the money that you can use your 14th Finance Commission grant to buy disinfectants as well as machinery. Every village came up with their own jugaads. We also saw, in which one tractor was carrying this water, and there was a Hyundai Santa Fe car having that sprayer on that. So this pump would start spraying. So every village started using their own tractors, their own pumps, where every village household was sanitized. And if required at a bigger scale, the fire tenders used to go from the towns. Yeah, that's how we got it disinfected.
Fantastic, amazing. I would love to have that video put on our page, and so that more people are inspired by it.
The video of disinfection, or
yes, this tractor and the stuff.
Yeah, I can. But it's my mobile. Is it okay?
Yeah. No. So we can you will send us later, and we will put it on a comment in the video. Yeah. So
I'll just show you on a mobile, probably, if it's okay.
Yeah.
But how that was done? Because everybody came up with their own, small ways of doing it. So it was actually innovative in the sense. I'll try to get some videos from my phone so that. I'm sorry that I couldn't prepare a video for.
No. It's okay.
For all these things. Meanwhile, I can answer something.
Yeah. So if you can look at the so there's a question around uh, Ahmedabad has become the new hotspot for novel coronavirus. How are
Yes.
you ensuring maximum testing of suspected patients, and how many mobile vans are placed for COVID-19 testing?
Okay. I just got that question. How are you ensuring maximum testing of suspected patients? And how many mobile vans are placed for COVID-19?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I would like to say that there are two ways of testing. The mobile vans which we launched is going to the nook and corner of the district. Otherwise, within the city, there are about 10-15 vans that have been deployed. These vans go to each and every ward. This van would carry the lab technician or the microbiologist. These vans go into each and every ward. Now, having declared walled city as a containment zone, these vans are dedicated routes where the samples need to be taken. The routes are designated by the authorities. Even in the district, we declare the route today because based on the positive cases coming, we did not just go and test everybody. We need to know where exactly and whom to test. So around 14 vans are being deployed in the city, and there are about 4 vans that are deployed in the district. In the district, it's easy because the area is vast, the density of population is lesser, scattered, so the village vans can travel. But in the city, the vans cannot go into the small gullies and societies, so it has to go into the ward headquarters. From there, the entire team of medical paramedics go to the societies, identify the surveyed population. They also identify the households where the infections are there. The primary contact tracing and secondary contact tracing is done using the software. And based on that, we decide that these many contacts are his family contacts, these many contacts are the community contacts. The primary contacts would be the nearby family members. The secondary contacts would be those contacts where the family members have gone to a shop or gone outside to meet somebody. There's also other category of super spreaders, like the vegetable vendors, the milkman, the paper distributor. So we are all tracing them, and these mobile vans are doing an amazing job. They are taking people to all the corners, and swab samples are being taken and transported to the testing sites on and off. So Ahmedabad has a huge testing strategy. I told you already, almost much better than the 10 times more the national average of testing is happening. So naturally, more number of cases are coming out. And it is good to be feel if more number of cases are coming, proactive disclosure of cases would eventually help us isolate those infected people and treat them at the earliest. Otherwise, it would become a bigger issue later on. So we are trying to avoid that.
There is a question here that very good initiatives taken by administration to take control of the present situation. What are the measures administration is taking to for frontline workers who are risking their life?
So I would just want to reassure my friend who has asked the question. Frontline workers are the most susceptible these days because we have people from drivers to paramedics to doctors who are getting infected during the line of treatment or during taking swab samples. So initially the shortage of supply of the personal protective equipment was there. Later on, the capacity was augmented. The state government was overwhelmingly supporting us. They gave us grants to every district under the National Health Mission, non-health NHM grant as well as NHM grant. The Gujarat Medical Services Corporation Limited has been supplying us constantly with all the PPEs required, the masks required, the gloves required, the HCQ medicines required, and all other logistics required. Now the district administration has also started procuring on a priority basis. We have distributed almost 54 lakh masks to all the frontline health workers who had done the survey, who did the survey for Annabram Ration Yojana, the teachers. We have given them cloth masks which could be reused. We have also given 3-ply masks which they could be destroying it in after 5 hours. We have extensively supplied sanitizers, 100 ml bottles, 500 ml cans, as well as 20-liter cans in huge bulk to all the frontline workers. We have kept the health PHC and CHC and the subcenter as a nodal place where the supplies would go, and from there it would go to the entire village. It would go to the frontline health workers. Frontline health workers, we have ensured that everybody has a sanitizer, everybody has a mask, everybody has a 3-ply mask. Those who engage in swab taking, we ensure that he or she wears a PPE with an N95 mask, with the goggles, with a face shield, with shoe cover, headgear, everything. And we in fact went for 3-layer PPEs where a person would be completely protected. Nevertheless, we also got 2 doctors infected. We also had 3 paramedics infected. But good news is that 2 doctors who were infected were asymptomatic and they are discharged from the hospital.
Excellent.
That's a good news. And the 3 paramedics are also asymptomatic. One is symptomatic. The one symptomatic case, we have given a good line of treatment in the COVID-19 hospital in Ahmedabad. So frontline workers are the most important. I would again want to reiterate that after the supplies are ensured, it is not only on paper. So what I do is randomly I take a list of the ASHA workers there, or the frontline health workers who are doing the survey and the swab taking and all. I randomly call on numbers. My office PA calls on random numbers and ask ki, bhai ben tame aa mali gyu che, tamaru supply purta ma che. Sorry for speaking Gujarati. They ask aapko mil gaya ki nahi mila to humko bataiye ki kya supply nahi hai aur mil raha hai ki nahi hai. The district accounts officer is supposed to do the purchase. We have set up a purchase committee also of 5 senior officers. That purchase committee would decide based on the demand from the talukas, also based on what needs to be supplied. We've got a gamut of things done. We've got this biomedical waste trays supplied. We've got bed strips got done. We've procured new linen for the hospitals, for CHCs and PHCs in case the numbers increase. And the frontline workers are daily inquired for shortage of PPE supply or anything. So the supply has been augmented by the GMSCL, district administration, as well as the NHM department. So there is one officer designated, the RCHO, who completely monitors. He has a database of supplies, village-wise, CHC-wise, and PHC-wise. So if there is any shortage, it would show red. So morning it shows red. By afternoon, the material reaches there. So that's how we are working.
Fantastic. There is a question that in city schools are giving online sessions. What is the provision in rural areas for kids' education?
I would also want to say one thing, that Ahmedabad district was the first district to get award for starting Google classes last year. So my friend's question, I think, would be answered. So we are a district who have 98% coverage of smart classes in government schools. I would invite my friend who has asked a question also, and also the team, Elets Media, to sometimes come and visit the Google classes. We have tied up with Google. This has been happening for the past 2 years. Our Jilla Section Samiti has also passed smart classes for all the schools in the district. So, but unfortunately, the schools have been declared, the holidays have been declared. So, but nevertheless, our teachers are working. So, I would be happy to show those, laptops and iPads that have been given to our children. We are taking online classes. Our teachers are taking online classes to the children through the online course system. Parents have been asked, because the private schools can afford it. They take a lot of fees, they take a lot of capitation fees and all. They could be, talking to the children through Zoom or something. But every government school going child is maybe not that much blessed. But what we have done, we have got the entire SSA syllabus done in an app. So we already have a Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan app, which every parent these days has a mobile app at his home, or it can be transferred to transferred to the TV. So we have transferred the entire modules from the app to the TVs. So every home we are providing online classes. Our teachers are teaching from home. Like IT companies are working from home, our teachers are teaching from home. So if not 100%, I can claim, say around 80 to 90%, our children are being engaged in one or the other positive way. And the state government has already declared pass for classes 1 to 8 without even exams. So that is one great initiative that came from the state government. So once the classes resume, we will be going with the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan online classes. Already the module of the state government education department is online. So every kid has it at his home at his disposal. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I think we are almost done. There is one last question, which is how medical supplies are being provided during this lockdown by maintaining proper safety to the rural areas.
Okay. One thing which we wanted to tell you was the prescription of hydroxychloroquine, which the state government had provided to us. A lot of pharma industries also voluntarily supplied to us. Medical supplies, there was no problem at all, because the pharma industry was given 100% clearance to go ahead with manufacturing and supplying during the lockdown also. There is an interministerial committee at the level of the Prime Minister's office who are monitoring logistics and transport of medicines from one corner to the other. There was a very peculiar incident in which one of a supplier from Gujarat was sending his truck to Aizol in the Northeast. So there was one tweet on Twitter which was tagged to Shri Parmeshwan Iyer IAS, who was the person heading the logistics committee. So permission, sir, because we had done the Swachh Bharat Divas program of the Honorable Prime Minister in Ahmedabad 3-4 months ago. So he just rang up and told Arun, just monitor where is this truck is. So we called this person through on Twitter. We contacted him. We took his number. My team contacted him. We asked him what is an issue. Then he sent his eBay, the way bill with the truck driver and number and all that. We did a tracking of the number because we can track any courier service or truck service these days. Through M Parivahan app, we track the registration of the vehicle. Through the eBay bill, we track the location of the vehicle. We found that the vehicle was stuck up in Siliguri in West Bengal. So immediately we called up the owner who dispatched it. We contacted the truck driver. We rang up to the district magistrate and CDO in Siliguri. Immediately the truck was spotted in about 1 hour time, and we found that the truck driver was the poor fellow was sleeping. He was taking rest because he was driving all the way because he was alone. He was sleeping. He told, "Sir, galti ho gayi, gaadi park hogi, 2 din late ho gaya, but hum pahunch jayenge aasa." So that is how the medicine supplies was ensured all over the country, not only within Ahmedabad district. And Ahmedabad never had a problem of medical supplies because it is it's almost the capital of Gujarat. All the pharma majors are, the manufacturing units are in Ahmedabad. Say, Intas, Siders, Cadila, Torrent, every manufacturing unit is here. They eventually supply also to the state government, and we have got those supplies. Every day, medicine supplies are ensured to the districts and to the nook and corner of to the villages. So there was no issue of supply of medicine. Hydroxychloroquine has also been administered based on government guidelines to frontline health workers. Those 7-week course has been given to them. We are also boosting the immunity of the frontline health workers by giving this arsenic ab and Ayush Kalas also to the entire population. So in that way, the medicine supply has not been an issue at all. Yeah.
Great. I think we have heard some amazing initiatives from the mobile vans to the Gram Yodhas to several others. I think so. Hats off to you and
Thank you.
And Arun, we will nearly close this session. And before we close, Arun, you have attended our conferences, you have seen our magazine, you are right now interacting with us on the webinar. Your impressions about the work we do at Elets?
Elets Media was, I got an opportunity to, attend your Smart City conference while I was in Rajkot. So I think after coming to Ahmedabad, I had been there to Rajkot. So being a Smart City CEO, I was very well in touch with them. Elets Online, amazing platform, good exposure these days, especially after Digital India was launched. A very good organization which deserves much more credit for what you are doing rather than, I believe you are working mostly behind the scenes. You should popularize yourself more because you are providing a platform to all the good work that is being done. There are a lot of magazines publishing stuff. There are a lot of people who get the print and e-media attention. But Elets Online has been documenting good practices, best practices online. And I'm sure you're interacting with not only the government bureaucracy, but also the social sector. You're reaching out to the private sector. All the best practices are getting documented. And I'm sure this platform is giving, Elets Online is giving an amazing platform to all the ground, grassroots level workers who are delivering, trying to help the society in one way or the other. And Elets Online is helping people, in the cause of nation building in one way or the other. So I personally feel you deserve more credit. You deserve a bigger applause. And I'm sure you are connecting to the common citizen through the digital way. Especially during a lockdown, all the e-media platforms have zoomed up. So through Zoom also, I'm happy that Elets Media is doing justice to all of you and the entire team of Hemangini and the other two new friends that we got to meet today. I'm thankful to you, and you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Arun, and I thank all the audience for joining us this amazing session. Those who are seeing us on the Facebook, I will request you to please like and share this video and the great innovations which have happened in Ahmedabad should be spread to more and more people so that other districts are also inspired by this initiative. With this, we will close this session and Thank you, Arun, for sharing great initiatives, and hats off to you and your team for doing a massive amount of work in last 1 or 2 months in this critical situation. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Namaste.
yeah, namaskar.